Yep.
Okay, action. So the first thing we're going to do, I remembered, is maybe please rise and say the Pledge of Allegiance. Linda, would you lead us, please?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Before I talk about this evening's proceedings, let me remind you that it's the early part of the year. This is our first meeting in 2019, right? Because we had to reschedule Paul Jaley,
right,
which I'll talk about in a moment. So it's dues time. For those of you who are here, if you have your checkbooks, would you pay the annual dues? If you don't, when you get home, would you please send a check in to Diane at the P.O. box. You can get the address from her. For those of you who are watching online, would you please go to the website and consider doing one of a couple or a few things. You can subscribe for $1 a month. You can use your credit card right online, or you can make a donation of $5, $10, $25, something like that. This is a small organization. We have a big job, so any donations from any of you out there, no matter how small, will be greatly appreciated.
And the website is?
The website is WTPOCC.org. Those initials stand for We the People of Cape Cod, WTPOCC.org. And it's really easy to donate a few bucks to this organization. Help us complete our mission.
You want the P.O. box?
Yeah. Why don't you, you read it, tell it to me, and I'll reflect it back on everybody.
So we the people of Cape Cod.
So if you're going to send in a check, send it and make it out to We the People of Cape Cod, Inc. at P.O. Box 256,
Centerville, Mass.
Centerville, Massachusetts
02632.
02632. So get in your dues, please. It helps keep us alive. I have another announcement or two. This is for March 1st, and this is our, I guess it's fair enough to call it, a sister group. Liberty Chalkboard is having a forum on faith, family, and freedom. You can go to the Liberty Chalkboard website, which is libertychalkboard.org, am I correct? And you can see the flyer, get all the information you need. March 1st, speaking will be Dr. Paul Jaley and Michael King. And there's going to be a lot of information there that is sorely needed to be spread. Linda, is there anything else we should say about that?
Did you mention the place?
No, I did not.
That's what I thought.
Is that at the Falmouth Public Library on 300 Main Street in Falmouth, where we used to have our movie nights, for those of you who attended those. Use the back entrance, the Catherine Lee Bates Road entrance.
What time?
Thank you. 7 o'clock to 9 o'clock. All right. Next announcement. Many of you know that Paul Jaley was scheduled to speak to this group for the January meeting, but he came down with bronchitis and pneumonia, and so had to cancel. But we've rescheduled Paul for the March meeting next month. And, you know, we hope you'll attend. We hope you'll join us online. Paul gives a great talk. You all know that. Now, tonight's proceedings, we decided to do something a little bit different. And that is to administer the citizenship exam. We thought not only would this be mildly educational, but it would be fun. And let me tell you how the evening's going to go. First of all, I'll tell you that people who are naturalizing as U.S. citizens, as part of the naturalization process, they take a 10-question exam, and they have to score 6 out of 10 to pass it. When I went to school, 6 out of 10 was 60%, and it was an F. You didn't pass with a 60 back then. But it's good enough for the citizenship exam. Well, we hope you'll all do better than that tonight. So those 10 questions are drawn from a pool of about 100, I'm told. And you can find those 100 questions online, and I did. And I picked out 25 of what I thought were the more interesting ones, or the ones that made you think a little bit more anyway, or that had a little humor to them, or that we could conjure up a little humor about, and just will be interesting to discuss at the end. So what we're going to do is we're going to pass out the exam in a couple of minutes. We'll have 25 minutes to complete the exam. For those of you who are viewing online, we're going to have somebody read the questions about every minute. Somebody will get up and at a good pace read the questions one at a time. So get your pens and tablets for those of you who are watching online. If you're there from Scotland, maybe you could be a U.S. citizen tonight. You never know. Now, then after the exam is done, we're going to take a little break. We're going to have some coffee and cake. I'm going to disappear for a few minutes because I was supposed to bring the coffee pot and the coffee, and it is now sitting on my kitchen counter in Campton, New Hampshire. So I made a deal to pick up some coffee over at Dunkin' Donuts. I'm going to be running out as soon as we pass out the exam, disappear for about 10 minutes. Somebody will, so normally for an exam, I walk around proctoring, put my hands behind my back, making like I'm really looking over people's shoulders, but really I'm trying to look in their lunch boxes. But Pam will read the questions so that the online audience will get it. And the rest of the gang will be here if there's any assistance needed. And then, like I say, I'll be back in 10 minutes or so. Question? No, you may not use the Constitution to answer these questions. You may not use crib notes. You may not use any cheat slips. I hope you don't have anything tattooed on your arm that will give you answers. A number of these, let me just read this introductory paragraph to you because it about says it all, or at least part of it. So again, the 10 questions are drawn from a pool of 100. Below is a sampling of 25 of those 100 possible exam questions. Beware, we the people of Cape Cod will hold you to a higher standard than a grade of D, or F as the case may be. And some of these questions have asterisks next to them, and that's because those questions represent subjects that were either featured in this class or at least mentioned prominently during the course of our Constitution lessons by different speakers. So if Pam will pass out the exam, I will disappear for 10 minutes to get coffee. To those of you online, I'm very sorry you may not have cake and coffee with us, but you will have time to jump up and maybe make some instant coffee at home. Pam's got that under control. I'll see you in about 10, 15 minutes, people.
Thank you. Thank you. That's perfect.
So I'm going to read question number 1 for the folks that are behind the camera. Who did the United States fight in World War II? Next question. Oh, well. Number 2 is what territory did the United States buy from France in 1803? Number 3, under our Constitution, some powers belong to the federal government. What is one of the powers of the federal government? Number 4, name one war fought by the United States in the 1800s. Number 5, what is the supreme law of the land? Number 6, there were 13 original states. Name 3. Number 7, name 2 national U.S. holidays. Number 8, the Federalist Papers supported the passage of the U.S. Constitution. Name one of the writers. Number 9, who is the Chief Justice of the United States now? Number 10, why does the flag have 13 stripes? Number 11, name one of the 2 longest rivers in the United States. Number 12, what do we call the first 10 amendments to the Constitution? Number 13, under our Constitution, some powers belong to the states. What is one power of the states? Number 14, there are 4 amendments to the Constitution about who can vote. Describe one of them.
And did you tell everybody that if If they're caught cheating, their citizenship will be revoked.
If you're caught cheating, your citizenship will be revoked.
Not the right to vote.
Right, you can still vote, you can still vote 3 or 4 times. but you won't be a citizen.
Number 15, what is one responsibility that is only for the United States citizens? Number 16, name one American Indian tribe in the United States. Number 17, what is one right or freedom from the First Amendment? Number 18, the idea of self-government is in the first 3 words of the Constitution. What are these words? Number 19, name one U.S. territory. Number 20, how many amendments does the Constitution have? Number 21, what did the Emancipation Proclamation do? Number 22, when must all men register for the selective service? Number 23, how many justices are on the Supreme Court?
Hey, sir, no whispering during the exam.
Number 24, when was the Constitution written?
Yesterday. I mean, but
And number 25, name one right only for United States citizens. And now, for the bonus question. What is the name of the President of the United States now? Yes, we should.
just on the other day.
Can't help it, know it.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, is there anybody else in here who needs more time with this exam? Okay, then please turn your papers over and put your pencils down. This is great. This is like the old days. Right? The only thing I didn't get to do is to march up and down the aisles with my hands behind my back looking ominous. So there's nobody in here that finds me threatening anyway. So it would be useless. Okay, so Mike, you think I should read through them for the online? You know what I'm going to do? Why don't we take a break? We're going to self-grade the exams. Yes, we are. Because Pam refused to do it. So let's take a break. There's coffee back there and cake and cookies and I think some hot chocolate. Please go help yourselves. I'm going to take a minute or two to read the questions to the online audience again. Please go back and have some cake. There's lots of everything there. Enjoy it, chat.
Rod got 100%.
Oh, I don't want to hear any braggarts.
I was keeping track of all of his answers. He got them already.
Okay.
He's the one in Utah that I had you send the email to.
Well, that's good. I'm glad that he got 100% because we don't have any chapter affiliates or friends that can't get 100% on this exam. All right, so for you folks that are online, I'm going to read the question through quickly again, just in case it was difficult to hear. So, question 1. Who did the United States fight in World War II? Question 2. What territory did the United States buy from France in 1803? Number 3. Under our constitutions, some powers belong to the federal government. What is one power of the federal government? Number 4. Name one war fought by the United States in the 1800s. Number 5. What is the supreme law of the land? Number 6. Name 3 of the original 13 colonies. Number 7. Name 2 U.S. national holidays. Number 8. The Federalist Papers supported the passage of the U.S. Constitution. Name one of the writers. Number 9, who's the Chief Justice of the United States now? Number 10, why does the American flag have 13 stripes? Number 11, name one of the 2 longest rivers in the United States. Number 12, what do we call the first 10 amendments to the U.S. Constitution? Number 13, under the U.S. Constitution, some powers belong to the states. What is one power of the states? Number 14, there are 4 amendments to the Constitution about who can vote. Describe one of them. 15, what is one responsibility that is only for United States citizens? 16, name one American Indian tribe in the United States. 17, what is one right or freedom from the First Amendment? Number 18, the idea of self-government is in the first 3 words of the Constitution. What are those words? 19, name one U.S. territory. 20, how many amendments does the Constitution have? 21, the Emancipation Proclamation, what did it do? 22, when must all men register for selective service? 23, how many justices on the U.S. Supreme Court? 24, when was the Constitution written? 25, name one right only for the United States citizens. And the bonus question, I'm not making this up, this was one of the, from the pool of 100. What is the name of the President of the United States now? Please write hugely, it's written on the exam. Now, if you out there online had subscribed to We the People of Cape Cod Inc., we could have sent this handy dandy little exam to you by email, and you would have it, and I wouldn't have to read it to you, and you wouldn't have to be rushing to hear what I said. So consider joining, consider subscribing or making a couple of buck donation. We'll take care of you. Take care of us. We're going to take a little break now because I'm not missing out on my cake for you. So this is time for a bathroom break or a coffee break for yourselves, and we'll be back in 10 minutes. Thanks. What is unruly classes? Is this people reading the newspaper? Where they can find answers to these questions?
It's either that or balance out today.
I could both, I think it's more fun.
My wife to come. You're out of here. Is he at church this weekend?
Yeah.
10 o'clock.
Well, I think I've shot pretty well. There was a couple that I just couldn't remember. The justice. Yeah. So you put it in now? I put Kennedy in the wrong one.
Yes. Yeah.
Maybe ones are all. I like to know, and I like to use this answer. Because, you know, looking at the map. I saw it. So, I know it's sort of best. It's been really fun. Somebody wrote it off. There's large snowfall left on red. But that wasn't the thing. It was only maybe 7. Also had a mountain of snow. The snow. But you see that.
Oh, I did. Well, but we're going to make it a funny thing more. Yeah. You know, I like Dunkin' coffee when it's hot, but I like McDonald's. The one I don't like is Starbucks.
I did okay.
I did okay. I'm not.
Go Howard Schultz.
I was thinking.
Not
For a year. They changed it.
Oh, yeah. 6 months ago, Howard Schultz.
But that another is not.
I should have told the age. I don't know, but that's shortly. What's
Once he did that, I was long gone. They had told him to, I was surprised.
Yes, I do look like the. Oh, yeah.
Just, I'm telling you, the science.
One guy I was trying, he was doing his answers, I was doing, we got them all right. We have somebody in
Stations,
London watching.
Science Channel. And then we have, catastrophes, catastrophes all over the world. I mean, that might be, anything from sinkholes to you name it. And there's, they have another one.
You've been following the connection to Citizenship?
Oh.
Like, oh,
See that Arkansas passage there?
And then,
21 more is gonna happen. We need to get people involved in that group, so they need to be involved. They need to come.
So I wanted to bring that up. I'm up for above all, I think I was discussing that and getting generating some interest on. So when you Mark Bickler, okay, like you're gonna find pushback. I expect to very, 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 very conservative constitutional people.
Yeah, uninformed people are gonna push back.
I know. I'll say Constitution discussion are like Catherine White. Whatever else you can say about her, uninformed is not one of them. She debated Article 5 issues with a guy on our Tea Party group a couple of years ago. Well, she wiped the floor with us because she's better informed than anybody. And there's a certain kind of constitutionalist that's been arguing against the Constitutional Convention for years. So they're much better up on that issue. You got to find somebody who's really that opponent.
Yeah, Mark will.
Okay, well, that's the
Answer
thing.
everybody.
But there are people, and they're not. It's not reflexive. They know all the arguments.
Oh, yeah, so
Okay.
so do all the people I've been dealing with in that group. They're very, very well versed in the procedures, everything that's gonna be necessary. It's already 13 states signed on, 21 more, and they have no recourse but to call the convention.
But you got to hear the other side. They're going to be Muslim. I mean,
I know the other
side.
sides. I know both sides. I always learn both sides before I have a discussion with anybody.
I'm still learning.
About 2 minutes. Get to it.
Yep.
Are you still broadcasting or did you take the call?
No, I kept it going. Looks like we lost some people though.
Well, they're going ahead, they're taking.
Oh,
God, that was sweet. Did I just see that online?
Mm-hmm.
I don't care.
Well, that's the seven forbidden, one of the seven forbidden words.
Right, remember that? I can rattle them off. But that I won't do.
George Carlin did that, didn't he?
George Carlin.
George Carlin?
George Carlin. It was. That was like hysterical routine. He's another one. I mean, he was really funny, and then he got too political too. And now he's dead.
See what that gets you?
Like Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Or as I like to call it, Darth Vader. I know that. I use it on the radio when I'm on the radio. Darth Vader Ginsburg. She's not dead. That's just a conspiracy theory. But I enjoy watching all that play out because then what happens is that the progressives think that they have to counter that. So that's what that whole episode was with her appearing in that theater.
I heard, I didn't see any evidence that she.
Well, there is nothing. What they did was, so this was a concert in her honor by her daughter. So you would think that in a concert in your honor, where would the honorees sit? Up front. So even as the Washington Post and a couple of other leftist outlets described, she sat in the back of a dark theater. No pictures were allowed. It's not that none were taken, they weren't allowed. And people wouldn't have even seen her, except some people happened to see her on the way out of the theater. Now, if you're trying to convince somebody that all is on does that sound like the way to do it? It doesn't pass the smell test, and that's for a reason.
But it's in the northern states.
But the conspiracy theory was that she was in a coma at some facility in Nevada, which of course is ridiculous because they wouldn't move her to Nevada unless she was going back up to the spaceship. You know, so she'd be in Washington at either GW or Georgetown.
Everyone's got a shiny object to dangle in front of you.
But again, it forced them to respond like their own. Yes.
Would justices have the right to go to Walter Reed?
I don't know the answer to that. Don't know. Shall we go over the answers now? All right, we'll give everybody a second to just get their minds geared up. This was a very, very difficult exam. But I tried to pick out the most fun ones that I possibly could. And I also tried to pick out a few where we could add a tidbit or two of information that you can actually take away from this instead of just reading through things that this
You know,
group knows.
to
Yeah.
be honest, if you just got here from, Pakistan or the Philippines or
Yep.
the mountains of Guatemala, it's a lot.
Well,
I mean,
it is,
I'm impressed. I got about 3 runs,
it is, but
but questionable.
the thing is that if you're studying for this,
Yeah.
all of the questions are available to you in advance.
Yeah,
So it doesn't take,
but it's really getting into the mindset where you've got this material.
yeah. Also, let me just add that I chose, if there were difficult questions to be had on this exam, I chose the 25 most difficult,
Okay.
because some of them said things like, like the last one, the bonus question, I didn't pull that out of my hat. That was actually a question on the exam.
Well,
I just thought,
Well,
I just thought it'd be very enjoyable to have people write down the answer. But they're all, out of the pool of 100, there were other questions like, who's your governor now? Who's your senator now? And so, when you get down to congressmen, some people don't know, but
Yeah.
most people know who their governor is. So there were a lot of questions like that. And if you want, and this goes for you folks online too, no, you don't have to subscribe or send $1. If you want to email me at markallegro@yahoo.com, I'll send you the pool of 100 questions.
Yep.
I think I actually lost one, so I only have 99. But you see that most of them are very, very easy, and then these were the most interesting, in some cases more difficult. So I picked this first one. Who did the United States fight in World War II? Because the people who put the exam together and put the answers key together, they give you the obvious answers, but there are other answers to this too. So the answers that they'll accept include Japan, Germany, and Italy, of course. But there were some other countries that were dragged into World War II on the side of the Axis powers, either by coercion, by coercion one way or the other. And that included Bulgaria and Croatia, and there's probably a couple of others as well.
Turkey.
Say that again? Turkey. Turkey is another one, that's right. So, so the answers that most people would have, and the simple ones that the examiners take for answers are Japan, Germany, and Italy, but we can add Bulgaria, Turkey, and Croatia to that. Number 2, so grade yourself. Remember, you got to get 6 out of 10, or your citizenship is going to be revoked. Even if you're watching this from the UK,
We got 25 questions.
yeah, you will have no chance of becoming a citizen in this country if you fail this test here today. What territory did the United States buy from France in 1803?
Louisiana.
Louisiana Territory, however you want to say it. Under our Constitution, some powers belong to the federal government. What's one power of the federal government? Now, the examiners give 4 answers, but everybody in this room knows that there's far more than that. So, powers belonging to the federal government include printing money, declaring war, create an army, making treaties. But as we've seen in this class, the federal government also had the power to form a federal court system. Remember that when we discussed the federal courts? Of course, to collect taxes. And so basically, if you think of any power of the presidency in Article 1,
Yeah.
or, Article 2, or any power of did I get that right? Yeah. Any power given to either of the 3 branches of government in Articles 1, 2, and 3, that would be a power of the federal government. So that could be answered in a lot of different ways. Name one war fought by the United States in the 1800s.
About 4, right?
What's that?
About 4 different wars.
That's correct.
Well,
Let's have one of the answers.
War.
That's correct. That's an obvious one.
Civil War.
That's right.
That's right.
Mexican-American War.
American and the Spanish American War.
That's right.
Yeah.
So the 4 are the War of 1812, the Mexican-American War, Civil War, also known as the war between Democrats and Republicans, which probably is a better description of it. And I kid you not, we went over that in this class too, and the Spanish-American War. So if you said any of those 4, War of 1812, Mexican-American War, Civil War, Spanish-American War, you got credit for that. What is the supreme law of the land? I had to put that one in. Everybody knows this. Okay, there were 13 original states. Name 3.
Here, Mass.
Virginia,
Connecticut,
Georgia,
Rhode Island.
New York, New Jersey, New Hampshire.
That's right. They're all coming. You guys know.
But what are the ones that people might make goof on?
All right.
Maine
Maine, Vermont.
Well, so New Hampshire, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, Connecticut, New York, New Jersey is one people might forget.
Delaware.
Jersey was one.
Pennsylvania is one that people will remember because they'll think of Ben Franklin. Delaware, Maryland, and Virginia. I think nobody would.
Georgia one? Yeah.
Yes.
Did I say Georgia? Yes, I'm sorry. North Carolina, South Carolina, and Georgia.
Georgia was the last one.
That's right.
Well, yeah.
Name 2 national U.S. holidays.
Memorial Day. Veterans Day.
Thanks, Lou.
That's right. Okay, I'm hearing them. So let me read off the list. There's New Year's Day, President's Day, Memorial Day, and for those of you who, if there happens to be anybody from overseas watching this, President's Day is probably a relatively tasteless amalgamation of Lincoln's birthday and Washington's birthday, both in February, and they put them together, changed the name to President's Day, so one might think we're honoring all presidents. I'm not even going to comment further than that. Memorial Day, Independence Day, Martin Luther King Day, Labor Day, Columbus Day. Isn't that Columbus Day? Do we still honor? Yes, we do. It's the day of national mourning to some people.
Some people.
It's one of those like 3-day weekend holidays. so
Yeah, right.
I just moved to it.
Veterans Day, Thanksgiving, and here's the real reason I put this question in here.
Christmas.
Christmas. That's exactly right.
It's not a national holiday.
Yes, it is.
It is?
It is, yeah. At least according to these people, and I believe it.
Okay.
So that's why I put that one in.
I put down Thanksgiving, but I seem to recall that it only was actually made as an official national holiday in the 20s or 30s.
You know, I think it
Proclamation
might have been
over
Lincoln. It might have been Lincoln who made it an official national holiday. Because he was hounded by a woman journalist,
Right.
and finally, I think it was Lincoln. 8, the Federalist Papers supported the passage of the U.S. Constitution. Name one of the writers. Call it out.
James
John Jay.
Madison.
I just wanted to get the least known.
That's right. John Jay, well, James Madison, Alexander Hamilton, and probably the one who's least known is John Jay, otherwise known as,
First he stepped into the Supreme Court.
well, but he used
Publius.
a pseudonym, Publius, that's right.
Everybody used Publius.
What's that?
I thought that they all went.
3 of them did.
Yeah,
You're not
I,
supposed to be able to guess which one was writing which one, at least when they were in the newspaper.
well, at least the way it's told in this set of answers, it was John Jay, but it could be all.
Well, John Jay was the one that was up here in the New York politician.
Yes.
Okay, him and Hamilton. But John Jay is, John Jay had a grandfather who didn't speak English, he only spoke Dutch.
No, I didn't know that. So see that people learned tonight? John Jay's grandfather only spoke Dutch. Who is the chief, see here, who is the Chief Justice of the United States now? John Roberts. And I just asked that one because, you know, that's in the news a lot these days, and I have a feeling will be in the news a lot more in the coming days. Why does the flag have 13 stripes? Right.
The original 13 states.
Ooh, those were big words. He says to signify the original 13 states.
Actually,
Whoa.
when they were the flag, they added the stripes.
We're gonna take
so
a half
wide
a
with the
credit.
stars when they added their states. But after, after so far, it was gotten ridiculous, so they went back to the original 13.
Yep.
But some of the early flags, they have like 20 stripes.
Yep. Okay, everybody in here. Well, no, wait, we got one more bit. Now, this is one where people might not get both of these, but name one of the 2 longest rivers in the United States.
Missouri.
That's right. I forgot the Missouri when I did this.
I said Ohio.
Yeah. So it's the Missouri and the Mississippi. What do we call the first 10 amendments of the Constitution?
Bill of Rights.
That's right. The Bill of Rights, for those of you online. Under our Constitution, some powers belong to the states. What is one power of the state other than taxing carbon in Massachusetts?
I just said regulating inside the state proper.
Yeah, so this is another one of those questions.
But after Richard B. Filburn, that's a distinction without a difference. So
Right, so this is another one of those questions where there could be lots of answers. The answers that they give, there's about 5 of them, are provide schooling and education, provide protection, that's the police.
Banning plastic straws.
Yeah, provide safety, that's the fire departments, give a license, a driver's
Thank you, Joey.
license, approve zoning and land use. But as you people online are hearing from the audience here, banning plastic straws,
That came from online.
creating bullet trains that go nowhere, run over costs, and then get canceled. Right,
State taxation.
right.
You know, back in the day, I think it was like 8 colonies had state-run churches or state-approved churches, which eventually that's gone down, but.
That's because the theory was the 14th Amendment required the states to follow more or less the Bill of Rights. Where the Bill of Rights is only regulating federal power.
Yeah, okay. So,
Yeah, the interpretation.
there are 4 amendments to the Constitution about who can vote. This we went over specifically in one of our last ones from 2018, one of our last lessons. There are 4 amendments to the Constitution about who can vote. Describe one of them.
The woman's right to vote.
Woman's right to vote?
Which one?
What was the number?
What was,
I don't recall. all that.
yeah,
Age 18.
I think it was the 19th
voting at
Amendment.
18
It was done almost at the same time as prohibition.
Right, so I remember roughly the years, but I don't remember the
Like
numbers.
20.
13th and the 20th Amendment.
You don't have to pay a poll tax. That came out as part of the Reconstruction Amendments. So that was like in
The
1865, 1866.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's-
Lowering the voting age to 17 was that by amendment or by statute?
What's that?
no, it's amendment.
It's amendment.
It was part of the amendment, part of
25th, I think.
the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments. Any citizen can vote, women and men. Citizens 18 and older can vote. That was relatively recently. I think that was about 1979, 76, something like that. No, earlier, that's right, because it was,
I think
During the
it
Vietnam War.
factored in the 72 election, but nothing before that.
and a male citizen of any race. And again, that was one of the Reconstruction Amendments.
Yep.
What is one responsible? Now, it's funny because they put this pretty much the same question in here in 2 different ways.
That's what I thought.
But they're both separate questions on the citizenship exam. But I chose to put them both in here because I just wanted to emphasize, and I know you people will appreciate that. What is one responsibility that is only for United States citizens?
Voting.
That's right.
Federal election.
To serve on a jury or to vote in a federal election.
Until you hit 70.
Did anybody read recently that the Texas Attorney General has identified the fact that there were 95,000 illegal aliens registered to vote in Texas, and that over half of them have voted at least once? But, yeah,
Were they illegal aliens or green card holders?
no, they were illegal aliens. No,
You would think they would be ID'd if they had a green card, so they couldn't do it.
yeah, having not looked at that article for a handful of days, but I'm pretty sure they were illegal aliens. But in any case, they were illegal votes.
Yeah.
Yeah, question.
It hadn't occurred to me until just now. The first question was going to be, do states have the right to expand their qualifications, their boundaries for voting in their state?
I think this is undetermined.
The 14th Amendment and the other ones you listed impose that they may not restrict it beyond certain bounds, race, age.
May they
tax,
expand it?
and
Well,
sex.
but I mean, these.
Well, that's what I said. So the feds have insisted sequentially that the states cannot constrict it, but may they expand it to include, say, green card holders for strictly state offices? Is that going on? I assume that
To my knowledge, it's not
voting-
going on at the state level, but
Maybe
there are
it's a full level.
several, at least 3 or 4 jurisdictions in the country that have expanded it to non-citizens. For instance, San Francisco now lets them vote in local elections,
I
non-citizens.
assume that if a state wanted to prohibit women to vote in the state election, they technically have the authority to do so.
If they want to run.
If it's in a state election, not in a federal.
I think what would happen is they probably face a challenge under unequal protection laws.
Yeah, they might, but
So, but yes, you're right. Okay, name one American Indian tribe in the United States.
No,
Warren.
Cherokee, the only one that counts right now.
Yeah, this list was long,
National.
and I actually cut a couple off, and I think Navajo was one of the couple that I cut off, but I'll just read through the list that I have. There's about 15 here. Arawak, Shawnee, Mohegan, Huron, Oneida, Lakota, Seminole, Crow, Hopi, Inuit, Cherokee, Navajo, there's Navajo, Sioux, Chippewa, Pueblo, Apache, Iroquois, Creek, Blackfeet, and there were a couple that I cut off just so that I would save paper.
Well, the point is that there are a lot of tribal leaders, but only those are the ones that are officially recognized.
Correct.
Like, for instance, even now the Wampanoags, I don't think are officially.
They were not on this list, that's right.
Does Wampanoag not count?
They were not on this list, that's the only thing I
Difficult to
can.
determine what makes it
Oh,
up.
but they were dancing.
They might have been on this list. Like I said, I cut a couple or a few off because it's a long list, and I was trying to keep it from spilling over to the next page.
No.
Well, once they get their casinos going, they will officially be recognized.
I think that's the problem. There are, like the Wampanoags, there's tribal land. Their rulers, they can make their own rules of their tribal land. And there was a federal law passed that said, if the tribe wants to put a casino somewhere, the state has to bargain with them in good faith. In other words, if Wampanoags wanted to do it on their tribal land, they'd have to go somewhere in Nantucket or Martha's Vineyard. But they can trade with the state and say, okay, we'll allow you to do it in this jurisdiction. They have to bargain in good faith, not keep stringing them along. Now, why they have this land when they're not an official tribe, I don't understand. The problem is I don't think there's a known language. There was a language, but nobody knows what it is anymore. And the genetic component for the tribes is so loose that it's difficult to see.
Yeah.
There's nobody pure.
I think you have to be greater than 1/1024th Colombian to be considered a legal Wampanoag. Yeah.
The question says name one American Indian tribe. It doesn't say one nationally recognized, so I'm giving myself a point for Wampanoag.
Let's have a vote on that.
Well, this is a technicality, but Diane was very sharp in picking up on that technicality, so I think she should get, should I say half credit?
Half credit.
All in favor?
No, we'll give her full credit. Full credit. Diane actually copied the exams for us, but when I couldn't get to Sable, so full credit, Diane.
But I didn't cheat. I have a couple on here.
Oh, okay. All right. We know you didn't cheat. Now, Linda was whispering to somebody else. Linda might have been cheating, but I'm not sure. And now the whole world, there are thousands of people out there that know that Linda cheated on this exam. Question.
I have a question on.
Oh, there's always one of those
I
questions.
took the resolve for myself. What is the supreme law of the land? I have a vague recollection that someplace or another, the federal law is considered as having supremacy over state law.
Yeah, no,
No,
there's
that's
a
the
supremacy clause in the
Constitution.
Constitution.
Well, if you said federal law
is that?
and I were grading this exam, I would give it to you.
But the
Because
point
the
is,
Constitution
it
is,
has that because the Constitution is supreme over everything.
I would give you half credit for that. Okay? There's always somebody trying to weasel out a couple of things. You know? All right, what is one right or freedom from the First Amendment? Now, first of all, our rights and freedoms are not from the First Amendment. So I would rephrase this question to say, what is one right or freedom enshrined in or,
Acknowledged by.
all right, speech, unless you're a conservative. Religion, unless you're a Christian. Assembly, unless you're a conservative. Press, they can do whatever the hell they want.
Yeah, they do.
And petition the government.
Okay.
Okay? So if you have one of those, you got a point. You got, well, 4 points, I guess it is, right? Yeah, question? Oh, you got the Constitution out.
Yeah, I think that Massachusetts was once, it's a moot point now, but Massachusetts was once protected in having an establishment of religion.
Yeah, yes.
Oh,
Yeah, he used to be governor
In the original 1787 Constitution, was mostly done at it, you had to be a member of the Congregational Church. You had to be a congregant. But see, the problem is that those things which the states did, they did not think the 10th Amendment to the Constitution regulated them, only the federal government. Later, not everything, for instance, they're still fighting over the Second Amendment. Okay. Later, they were decided that the 14th Amendment made them operative to the states as a whole. Just like the states could not deny the franchise to a black man, okay, or deprive him of his property via the 14th Amendment, they had a right to let these corporations out there.
Well, that's a figment of,
Well, it's a judicial thing, but the thing was, the federal government did in fact, in the 14th Amendment, order the states to follow certain, they couldn't deprive life of property based on the race. That's what the 14th Amendment said. So other judges said that means other things that or can't establish a church.
What's in there about repealing the First Amendment?
No, the Article 6 specifies no religious
Test.
Test.
test. And
That's a whole other subject.
But that's
Well,
again,
That's different from an state established religion.
well,
Also, it would appear obvious that
That's what this is about.
could establish religion.
the Bill of Rights was about the federal government. It's only later that they used that to impede the states. For instance, the press freedoms were not necessarily enshrined in the state.
Was specifically written to guarantee the states, not to guarantee not to interfere with the states in that section.
okay, the 14th Amendment has been interpreted, whether that's fairly or not.
Oh, yeah, the Second Amendment has been misinterpreted also, but,
To use the prohibitions against people and against the states rather than the states restricting the feds. There's also a conflict between the no religious test clause, Article 6, and the prior religious test that 12 of the 13 colonies had,
well, actually,
which eventually got trumped by.
They were gone long before the 14th
the
Amendment.
sixth was not in conflict with the first. They were all passed at the same time.
So you know what I'd like to do? This is good. I mean, for those of you who are watching online, that's exactly what this class is all about. I'd like to pick this up after we go through the exam, and we can have some more coffee in the back and talk about that. Thank you. That's what I mean when I say that everybody in this class knows more about this stuff than I do. So you people out there. Okay, number 18. The idea of self-government is in the first 3 words of the Constitution. What are these words? We the people. That's right. Name one U.S. territory. This is, I thought, would educate some people.
Samoa.
Puerto Rico.
That's right. So Guam,
Virgin Islands.
Puerto Rico, Samoa, and the Virgin Islands. Now, there are actually about, there's about 11 other U.S. territories, but these are the ones that actually have a permanent population, so are considered to be, populated. But there are others in the Pacific and in the Caribbean, and most of them are just small atolls and small islands, that sort of thing, unpopulated. Actually, here's an interesting tidbit for all of you. 2 of those 11 others are actually administered by Colombia. I don't know how that came about. It's just a tidbit I picked up. All right. How many amendments does the Constitution have? 27. What did the Emancipation Proclamation do? There's a general and a more specific answer to this. It freed the slaves.
Federal territory plus.
Not under rebellion.
States,
Right.
because those states their governments were null and void, and therefore they were under federal control.
Right.
By their legal insurrection.
So the simple answer is it freed the slaves. In fact, it freed the slaves in states that were not under rebellion. That were under rebellion. It freed the slaves in the Confederate States, or Let's just leave it at that. If you said free the slaves, you got free credit. You got credit. When must all men register for the selective service? To tell you the truth, this is so far behind me. I kind of knew what it was, but
18.
yeah, 18 or the
I didn't think they had to do that anymore. They don't need to do it anymore.
they have to yeah, I think they do.
No, I remember this because I
Yeah,
was
you
just
do.
around this period, okay? They ended
They
the
do.
draft. And then some years later, they revived selective service.
Yeah, so
So
registration.
they ended conscription, but you had to have a draft card in case they wanted to bring back conscription, presumably because of a national emergency. And my age range was right between it, so I never had to register. I never even had to have the stupid card because
so
I was past that age window. when
the
they
actual
brought it
age
back.
range is 18 to 26.
Yeah,
That's
I
the
know.
fuller answer.
So you still have to register.
Yeah, but I would know. I'm an old fart.
I didn't either. I didn't think you-
Do 18-year-old females have to register?
Not yet.
No,
Not yet.
that was a big controversy when they were
Well,
trying
they'll
to
bring it
figure
back.
out what to do with the selective service system. And
Okay.
they didn't change it. That was easy.
Question number 23. Now, this is a trick question. How many justices are on the Supreme Court? In theory and in actuality.
Right.
In theory,
Is anybody still?
and it includes the Chief Justice. That's right. There's 9. However, the question doesn't say how many justices should be on the Supreme Court. It says, so,
No, the Constitution doesn't say how many justices in it. It floated in the early days.
Right.
That's why
went
FDR
everywhere from 6 to 10.
That's why the FDR proposed to pack the court in 37, because he just had to get it. Congress.
Right, so it doesn't say in the Constitution, but the question is how many justices are on the Supreme Court? The answer is 9. When was the Constitution written?
1787.
Ooh, September 17th.
Well, that's what it was
1787.
ratified or
Ratified,
signed.
yeah.
Okay, they spent all summer,
Right.
1787.
1787.
Spent all summer in Philadelphia,
Right.
hashing it out.
And then they had to go through the campaign back in the States
Right.
to get it ratified. But it was written in 1787 at the Philadelphia Constitutional Convention, the first Constitutional Convention. And here's a repeat of that other question where it asks about what's the responsibility for American citizens only. Name one right only for United States citizens. And they give 2 answers:
Vote.
vote in a federal election or run for federal office.
Oh, yeah.
Didn't think about that, yeah, right? And then the bonus question. Well, I wish there were some people here to really appreciate this one, because I would have forced them to write Donald J. Trump as well. All right, so I'm not going to ask what your scores were. You can go home and cheer or cry tonight in your own private bedroom. Is there anybody in this room? No, I don't think anybody should answer this question. Who should not be a citizen here tonight? I don't think so. I think this group knows the score and knows these answers.
No score.
There's more coffee. I think we're going to sign off. I want to thank all of our online audience. And what's this?
These are some questions back to the
Congregational church was disestablished.
Oh, okay. Let me just tell you, by the way, let me just tell you that the reason that this has been in the news lately and came to my attention, as I'm sure most of you, is that recently there was a study by the Wilson Center in Washington, D.C. about how many Americans could pass the U.S. citizenship test.
Yes, about what?
And I'm going to tell you, it was abysmal. It was abysmal. And it was even more horrific for young people. So what's been brought to me is some examples of some of these questions. So here's the test. And I can't read through all the 10 questions right now, but they include what do we call the first of 10 amendments. We elect a senator for how many years and so on and so forth. So some of these questions we did here tonight, and some of them we didn't. But just let me give you an idea of how well people did on this. Only 26% of high school students answered the question about what's the first name of the first 10 amendments. To the
That's their
Constitution.
parents' fault.
Only 11% of high school students answered how many years the senator is elected for. Only 23% of students answered who was the first president of the United States. Can you believe that only 23% of these students know who the first president of the United States was? Everybody knows it was Donald Trump.
One of my daughters actually told me it was Abraham Lincoln, swear to God.
Yeah. Okay, let's see. Let me look at some particularly bad ones. Number 6, 10% of high school students answered this one correctly. That is, how many justices are there in the Supreme Court? And it's a multiple choice, 9, 13, 150. I'm just going to skip to 1 or 2 more. Only 14% of high school students knew who wrote the Declaration of Independence.
What grade is that?
Just says high school.
And
Number 10, which of the following is a right given only to U.S. citizens? So we had that one here tonight. Now, only they put it as a multiple choice again, and the 4 choices are freedom of religion, freedom of speech, right to vote in federal elections, and freedom of assembly. That's question number 10. Only 41% of U.S. adults answered this correctly. Now, it's important to note that probably a major chunk of that 59% all reside in California. So that one really was not that bad. Thank you, everybody. Thanks to our online audience. We can all be Americans. You're not